name is Audrey Goninen, and I'm a literacy specialist with the Office of Early Learning and Literacy. And the goal of this session is to provide districts and schools with support in utilizing a kindergarten through fifth grade intervention decision tree and learning pathways worksheet to enhance current MTSS structures and to ensure student success. The tools you will be introduced to today are provided as an example of the thought process, assessment selection, skill identification, and intervention planning that can occur within your current MTSS structures. The goal is for students to be provided with expert instruction and intervention that will accelerate learning, close gaps, and ensure students become proficient readers and writers that demonstrate the qualities within the profile of a South Carolina graduate. In order to ensure student success, it is essential that MTSS structures allow for strategic identification of the learning targets that will help to accelerate students' academic growth. Identifying student goals first begins by having the teacher and the school MTSS team looking at the student's universal screening and/or benchmark data. This is your first sweep to determine who may need an intervention. From there, we must determine what are the underlying skills that are needed to propel the learner forward. This can be accomplished by having the student complete an oral reading fluency assessment to determine if their reading is at grade level standards. Included in the resources, you will find a link to an article about oral reading fluency and grade level standards. This will help to determine if the child needs a learning pathway aligned to word recognition or language comprehension. If they are below grade level standards, then you'll want to give the student some diagnostic assessments in the areas of phonological awareness and phonics. This is because oftentimes students present as having difficulties with comprehension, but is because they are exerting a lot of cognitive energy to decode text. And so then they aren't able to comprehend what they're reading. To help you determine the specific areas of need, you may want to start with utilizing a diagnostic assessment like the PAST, a phonological awareness screening assessment that drills down to the specific needs of the student. Your district may have other diagnostic assessments that you'll utilize instead. Whichever diagnostic assessment is used, it is essential that it provides specific information regarding a student's ability to hear and manipulate sounds and words. Students needing intervention along the word recognition path should also be provided with diagnostic assessments for phonics. These diagnostics should assess students from least complex decoding skills to the most complex in order to identify the specific areas of need for intervention. Some examples of diagnostic assessments can be found through open source resources such as the Core Phonics Survey, Really Great Reading Phonics Survey, and spelling inventories. Or your district may have phonics assessments that have been identified to use with your students. If the child is reading on grade level standards for oral reading fluency, then you'll want to determine an area or areas of need specific to language comprehension. Vocabulary accounts for approximately 60% of the variance in reading comprehension once students are able to decode words in a text. So MTSS teams will need to reflect on how vocabulary is attributing to a student's lack of language comprehension. It will also be important to think about how a lack of background knowledge may attribute to poor reading comprehension. The additional subskills of language comprehension include written expression, the use of strategies for self-monitoring, and understanding of text genres, characteristics, and features. The ability to comprehend simple to complex syntax within a sentence, and the use of higher level reasoning skills. This decision tree can assist in strategically identifying the learning targets for students that will help to accelerate their academic growth. Once data has been collected and specific skills have been identified as a need for a student, Then it will be time for the school's MTSS team to convene to review the data and determine an intervention goal and plan. This tool, the K through 5 Literacy Intervention Student Learning Pathway, is intended to be used by the school level MTSS team in collaboration with the child's classroom teacher all throughout the school year to guide intervention. As discussed before, the tool is an example, and districts or schools may want to reflect on the components included in this tool as compared to your current MTSS structures, but it is not required to be utilized. The information discussed through the decision tree can be recorded on this document to ensure that there is clear communication between the students' teachers from year to year and between schools when a child relocates. It will also help all stakeholders to understand the specific needs of the student, the interventions that have been put in place, and their outcomes. There is also a place for MTSS teams to craft SMART goals that are aligned to the learning pathway of each child, an area to plan for instructional materials and resources, including how and when progress monitoring may occur, and a place for teams to record the outcomes and next steps. Again, this document and the use of the MTSS decision tree could be used throughout the school year in collaboration with the school's teacher and MTSS team to determine and provide interventions. These tools also provide documentation that would be beneficial in a student's literacy assessment portfolio or lab folder. All right, well, I'm so glad that you're here today. We have come together so we can talk about, we know he's in second grade and recently gave the universal screener to him because his benchmark reading level was considerably below where he needs to be. And so when we gave the universal screener, it looks like for phonemic awareness, he's at that level 4, which is still below grade level for second. And for phonics, though, he was even further behind at a level 2, which is focused on letter sounds. So thinking about just those 2 data points of phonemic manipulation, he's needing that, and phonics, and the level of text, are you feeling like we need to focus on word recognition with him or more language comprehension?
Recognition.
Yeah, I think so. You know, just looking at our universal screening data and benchmark, I'm not even sure oral reading fluency level is needed. We have enough to consider that this is definitely a word recognition. So we're going to start there. And so you gave him some diagnostic assessments to help determine where specifically in those areas. So talk about the phonemic awareness assessment you gave and what you found out.
All right, so rhyming was a strength because he was able to recognize and produce rhymes. But isolating sounds, even beginning sounds, he was unable to do.
Okay.
And so that kind of went along with what the screener showed. He was in some just various stages as far as blending and segmenting and manipulating. But it would look like a major weakness. You know, he wasn't even in stage 1 here.
For
initial
isolating
sounds,
and,
yeah.
Okay, so
The beginning sounds.
isolating beginning sounds and words. Okay, so we know we need to start there in terms of the phonological awareness. How about with the phonics?
That went along. He's able to identify all upper and lowercase letters. But as far as letter sound correspondence, he scored 18 out of the 26.
Okay.
So that's something he needs to work on for sure.
Letter sounds.
Yes.
Okay. Do you feel like that would be a good starting point, at least for
Yes, he needs that.
focus
Definitely.
intervention? Okay. All right. Well, since we have those 2 areas identified, let's go ahead and set a goal for when we're setting a goal, we want to make it a SMART goal. So it needs to be very specific, which this will help lead to. We need to have it measurable, which that's why we've got this great data that we can go from. when we're thinking about the goal, we want it to be achievable. So setting realistic goals here. We know it's relevant because these foundational skills are important for beginning readers. And then we're going to do a time bound. So thinking around how long do you want to put this intervention in place before we come back and see, hey, how's growth? What is his growth? How long do you think? Typically interventions are 4 to 6 weeks. So what would you think?
So
be a-
maybe try like 3 or 4 weeks and just focusing on that letter sounds.
Okay. I heard 3 and I heard 4. So how many weeks do you think?
We can do 4, that's fine.
Okay. So we'll start with in 4 weeks. In 4 weeks. And we want him to be able to increase his and
His letter sound correspondence, right?
yep, we can do that. Increase letter sounds from, what was his?
18.
18 out of 26. And so what do you think would be achievable in 4 weeks? He has 18 sounds and we're trying to get to this 26.
I think we should probably shoot for 100 because that's 8 that he has left, and honestly, he has some vowels which are typically the trickier ones. Like C. He said the S sound. I think that's an easier fix than trying to like learn all of his vowels. So I think I would shoot for 100%. So 26 out of 26.
Okay. So in 4 weeks, we'll increase letter sounds from 18 out of 26 to 26 out of 26. Okay. And that's that's 8 letter sounds, and we've got 4 weeks, so it could be 2 a week we try to achieve. So this is definitely specific. We're going to be able to measure just by giving this again and seeing.
Yeah, and probably progress monitoring sometime in between those 4 weeks, not just waiting 4 weeks. That way, if he's moving faster,
I like that.
then we can know that, we've met the goal, we can move on. I love
yeah.
it. So we feel that it's achievable, we know it's relevant, he needs it for his reading, and then time bound within 4 weeks. We're going to come back to think around the instructional plan, but let's think also around his phonemic awareness goal. So we'll start again with in 4 weeks. And we'll
I think we can just say he will isolate initial sounds.
I noticed you wrote a note that says you prompted him to give the sound and not the name, because it looks like he was saying the name
He
of the
would say
letter
like
and not
S
the
instead of
Mhm.
S.
Oh, okay.
Which-
So maybe
That
just
makes
not
sense.
understanding
He's got
the
identification
letter.
and doesn't know all sounds. That kind of makes sense there.
Right.
So he might have some connections there
Yes.
though, because if he can say S,
Yeah. Okay. So in 4 weeks, we'll isolate initial sounds we'll increase isolating initial sounds from right
he's
now
at 0
Zero.
out of 5.
to,
I guess the goal would be 5 out of 5. I mean, isolating initial sounds is usually consonants in a lot of words.
okay. And were those consonants consonant sounds he had or did not have?
That's a
He
good
had
thing.
S. He did not have C. He had R. Where's P? He had P,
But interestingly enough, he named
and he had B.
K.
Yeah. So he had all of those sounds. So having them in isolation versus hearing them in a word is a
And-
different skill.
And being able to distinguish sound versus name, sounds in a word.
Okay.
There's some other errors that made me think that he struggled to isolate sounds in any position throughout the assessment.
Okay. So we know it's specific and measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. So now let's go back and let's think about what is this intervention going to look like? We want him to increase letter sounds and also focus on isolating that initial sounds in words. So let's start with phonemic awareness, because that's always a nice warm up to any kind of lesson. What do you envision that you would do in order to focus in on this skill?
Well, I think when he's in small group, you know, I can go back to the curriculum that we're using to isolate sounds and, you know, and pull out those beginning sound ones and go back to that and make sure that I'm doing that, because like in whole group, you know, we might be at you know, final sounds or medial sounds, to make sure that I'm focusing on just initial sounds with his group.
Because he wasn't able to do it, I'm thinking we might need to have some scaffolds in there. So maybe some use of manipulatives. What are some things that your teachers use?
Think about our crayon boxes and our cubes, or even just cubes, the first few.
Okay, so he could
Just like we practice
push
it on
the
PLC.
sounds. Okay. Yeah, we could do that.
So use of Alconin boxes, and then cubes to push the sounds.
A more concrete representation of that sound for him.
I'm also
He might
thinking.
do really well with that.
Say that one more time. I'm
He
sorry.
might do really well with that. It might slow him down.
To hear those sounds. Yes. Okay. So we could do that, and then after he has actual manipulatives, I know teachers have been using, you know,
Their arms, we've tried the fingers to hear sounds.
so then maybe gestures would be the next
Sure.
step before then just completely
Dropping it.
Taking away all
all
of
of it. So thinking maybe over the 4 weeks, just starting with manipulatives, then gestures, then just hearing, and see how that goes.
Okay.
Okay. And then in terms of the letter sound ID, what are your thoughts for or articulating letter sounds when seeing the letters? What
Well, I
might
wonder
instruction
if it would help
do?
him to like have, you know, the ABC chart and to like go through it and name the letter and the sound.
Just like a quick review of
Yeah,
name
and
the letter
then-
and say the sound.
Yes, you know, A and and to do all of them,
Okay.
and then, you know, choose maybe, I don't know, I'm thinking maybe like 3 letters, like maybe one that we feel he knows, you know, like he knew F, and then choose maybe 2 that he doesn't know and work on those 2 those 2 sounds. And if that's too much, maybe do like a sound or 2 that he knows and just one that is
So
That we've
he
identified
says
that
you
he
might review
doesn't
1 or 2 sounds that he does know,
and
and then
use those as our-
introduce a new sound, so then he can build words with those 3. Is that what you're thinking?
Oh, he could build words with those 3 as long as I include a vowel. Yeah.
but he-
Okay.
which he needs. He has some vowels
has
and
some
needs
vowels,
some
but
vowels,
he
so you could go
needs-
either way there.
Yeah, he needs the E and the U. And I would probably want to spend a longer time on the vowels versus like the letter sound Q.
Okay. And thinking that because he's a 2nd grader and he doesn't have these letter sounds, I'm thinking we may have to be really explicit with teaching. I know we've seen a lesson plan where it was like introducing letters, so we could use that lesson plan for how to introduce letters. But I like that idea of anchoring it with some letters that he knows, introduce the new one explicitly, and then you could use that to build words. So then you're even
and-
extending.
You could use those Alcona boxes the same way we were using it for his phonological awareness, where we push the sounds in that we hear, and then what was that first sound, and we can push it out and maybe like write the letter that goes with that sound.
Yes. Then you're kind of
Kind of
hitting on
hitting
both.
of them, and we're
Yes.
using the same materials. I don't have to have like tons of things out either and
Okay.
prepared.
Simple.
And it
Perfect.
can be like a same structure all the time, just different letters and sounds.
So are you thinking that you'll be able to get started on Monday?
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll come back in 4 weeks, and when we come back, be sure that you have reassessed using these same assessments. So then we can see, did he meet his goal? And then we'll be able to decide what are next steps. If we need to just continue the intervention, maybe we might have to adjust it. If he's met his goal, maybe we're ready to move on. Or maybe we need to think of, okay, this isn't working, what else can we do? All right.
Yeah, that sounds good.
All right, great.
Thanks.
Now that you've had a chance to see the use of these tools within a school, reflect on the following questions. How are current discussions within your district or school regarding student intervention ensuring that specific areas of need are targeted? How might the kindergarten through fifth grade intervention decision tree and learning pathways worksheet support student success in your district or school? I want to thank you for your time and your commitment to ensuring that all students succeed. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out and contact either the OELL director, Quincy Moore, our literacy specialist team lead, Marie Gibbons, or myself, Audrey Goninen, or you can contact any friendly literacy specialist near you. We are here to support your district or school in ensuring student success for all students. Thanks again.